Hey, this is Daniel Norton. I'm here in my studio in New York City with Farah.
Hi.
And we're gonna make some kind of fun shots today. So a lot of times when we're doing live demos, I get a request to make the background a different color, and we like to have fun with gels and change that up. But then after, I get a lot more technical questions about like, how exactly did you do that? Because we're usually just kind of doing it quickly. And really, if you want to do a color change in the background with gels, there is a science to it. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that today, talk about exposure and talk about like things and how to put it together. So what we're gonna do first is, I've got Farah here, she's got this beautiful yellow dress. I guess it's more of a shirt outfit, we'll call it. I'm gonna go blue on the background because blue and yellow kind of work together, right? And one of the keys here is that we want to keep our main light, our key light on Farah, or any of the light that's gonna hit Farah. Basically any of the light that's not the background light needs to not hit the background. That is super important because any light that hits the background that's not blue is going to make the blue less saturated. So for a key light, I'm gonna use this 3-foot octagon. This is equipped with a grid. The grid's gonna narrow the beam, so it's gonna make it so that the light doesn't hit the background. Simple as that, right? So let me show you how to do the background. Okay, so I've got 2 V flats, you can see that, and bouncing into them, I have this Profoto B2, one on each side. I've fitted them with the blue gels that I want to use. They're both the same gel, of course. And in order to get the background even, I made them basically even from each other. Everything's set the same. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set my background to basically be the exposure that I want to shoot at, which is f4. So I'm just going to fire my lights. F4, right? Now we have the lights exactly the way we want for their on exposure. An important thing to remember here is that when you're doing gels here, don't worry about the exact exposure. Don't worry that it's f4. Know that right now it's set on exposure. Okay, so come on to your spot here. So what we're gonna do now is we're going to basically just get the background set. Again, I'm shooting at f4, 100 ISO. I only have those lights going off right now, even though I have my key light over there. I just have the background light set because I want to do that separately, right? So what I decided to do when we set this up was I saw how kind of it was cool, this cool balance with like the black of the V flats facing me. So I'm actually going to kind of make a fun composition that way, shooting horizontally, but let's just see what the background looks like. Again, this is on exposure. So we can see that it's a nice bright blue, right? But we are getting a little bit of bleed through here. It's not really flaring forward, but we're getting a tiny bit. And in fact, we know that it's actually bright because we're getting even some light here on the front of her face. That just bounced, right? So we know that background is too bright. No matter how we metered it, no matter how much the science of it says, oh, the meter read it, it's not right. I know it's not right to what I want. So what I'm gonna do is turn that light down. I actually kind of want a deeper saturation anyway, so I'm gonna go a full stop. You can basically do it to taste, but you definitely wanna do it enough that you're not gonna get any of that light in the front of her face. So let's see. Again, we're doing another silhouette shot here. We're just establishing, there we go. Now we're closer, right? You see how nice the hair is. We're not really getting anything there. I mean, if I was to grab my exposure slider, obviously we'll start to get some. It's not like a deep dark shadow, but it's down, it's a stop down or so. So now I think that's actually probably okay, but I do think the blue's brighter than I want it to be for this yellow outfit. If she was wearing like a bright, shiny yellow outfit, that might be good, but she's got kind of this darker yellow. So I'm gonna go on one more stop. Okay, I like that. So let's start there, right? So now again, what's the f-stop of the background? Doesn't really matter, right? What it matters is it's 2 stops under the exposure set at the camera, and that's what I like. And what you can start to do is keep track of these things, so when you need to set up gels in the future, that's how you'll do it. You'll know, okay, 2 stops under, I get that exposure the way I want. So let's set up our key light. And what I'm gonna do is first I'm gonna do it wrong, right? It's always good to do things wrong to start with. And I'm gonna use this light over here, which is basically, there's a Profoto B1X here, and I'm just gonna stick this giant silk in front of it. Now this is a beautiful way to modify the light. You guys have seen me use this a bunch of times before. This can be really, really pretty and create some really nice shots. However, this light is not controlled, right? So I can tell you right now that some of it is gonna creep past, and that light that creeps past is going to end up putting some again, white light, as it would be, onto the background, right? And that white light is going to make our exposure, okay, that's a smidge dark. I'm gonna come up a bit. I'm gonna add a little bit of light to that. One more down. Cool. Okay, good. Let's see what that looks like. So again, now I'm 2 stops under exposure on the background, and my key light is actually set on exposure. So you can work towards the main light, this light here. Yeah, take half step back this way. Good. Perfecto, here we go. Nice. Beautiful, right? She has nice light on her. That's really nice, right? Except look at the background, right? The background is really washed out. Now, if you wanted that washed out look on the background, that kind of baby blue, then you got what you wanted, right? But that's not what we wanted. We wanted that saturated background. The reason why we're having a problem is because the light from the front is hitting that background. We don't want that, right? So we're gonna use a light that's more controllable. So I'm gonna turn off that light, and I'm gonna turn on the light that's in my Octa here, right? This is gonna give us a more controlled spread of light, right? I'll even turn the mono light on so you guys can see, right? We can see that that light's not gonna penetrate behind. Let's get this guy set up. Perfect. Okay. Now, the reason why I'm not using TTL here, even though you could theoretically do that, is because I kind of want to show you guys how things balance out. So I'm using the meter so everything's consistent. So now again, I'm on exposure here. Background is 2 stops under with a much more controlled light source. Here we go. And now we got, if we look at these 3 shots, right? This background is basically consistently blue in these 2, right? Because no light's hitting the background. Here, it's washed out because our key light is hitting the background, which we don't want. So simple as that. Now we have what we want. Let's shoot a couple like that. Good. That's it. Good. Nice, focusing. Beautiful. Good. Good. Now it's important clearly with this light that she works more or less towards the light, otherwise we're gonna lose her in shadow, right? So that is important. You can see that when you're working with a light source like that, that's something we have to do. But look at how pretty that light is on her face, right? Now you can add, let's say, because I have this light here, and why not use a light that you have, right? Any lights that you have should always be used. That's part of the photographer's law. I'll take this light here, and maybe I'll add a separation light with it, right? Because I can do that. As long as none of this light hits that background, I can put as many lights up as I want. So I'm gonna throw this in a strip bank that conveniently was just sitting right there. Who knew? You know, I'm gonna feather it off like we always do with these. And let's see. Okay, so that I'm gonna set up, that's the B light, my B light. Turn it on, and I'm gonna meter it. Again, just like we metered everything else, because now it's in a box, it's further away, but I still wanna make sure that it's the exposure that I want it to be. Okay, that's showing 5.6. I'm gonna drop it a stop. So now, again, on exposure for my key light, on exposure for my hair light, 2 stops under for my background light. All right, let's try that. And that's not terrible, right? And you could add more if you wanted to, right? I could add one from the other side if I had one. I could do a lot of things. So let's try a few like this. Let's see what that looks like, fun shots. Now, with her more forward like this, we have to be weary, again, of shadows. But as long as she keeps her chin up, we should be okay. Good. Do a couple more like that. Good, good, good. 1 or 2 more. What it comes down to here is that saturation is really controlled by exposure, right? The darker the exposure, the more saturated. So since we got those and they look great, let's just do a few where we go down even more. Let's go 4 stops under. Okay, let's try that. So now we're gonna get real dark back there. You know, now we've got this almost like, oh, that's kind of nice actually. It's kind of like a navy.
Should I convention it?
Yeah, you know, towards the light is fine. Not quite that far, but as long as you work mostly towards the light. Good, focusing. Good, 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 here we go. Yeah. The thing with this light is that, remember, it's in a grid, so that you gotta, if you have somebody who has this like great hair like she has, she might throw shadow on her face, but it's also a soft light, so it works, you know. We got a lot of options, yeah. Just if she's straight at me, like look straight at me, that's the only time you might run into a situation where, let me sort of focus, where you might have a little bit too much shadow on one side of the face. But even that, I mean, big soft light, it's totally fine. And if you really, really wanted to, you could, what? But you're like, Daniel, you just told me I can't do that. Well, this is now not a light source, it's just a bounce, so it will not throw light on the background. It shouldn't anyways. Yeah, and now we filled in a bit, and the background stayed the same, right? Super subtle, that could be anything you've got. Looks really nice. Let's do one or two more with the bounce. No, it's too much for this competition. Yeah, because we only have a small frame here, so we can't go too crazy. Yeah, that's it. Exactly, right? Okay guys, so you see, that's pretty simple, right? It's just a matter of getting the exposure of the gel where you want it, which is oftentimes underexposed based on your exposure set on the camera. It really depends on the gel, of course, and also your background. This happens to be a white background. If it was a gray background, you know, that's why I say ratio is key, right? You need to know the ratio. So, and you're not gonna know the ratio till you test it. And it's simple enough to set it up, start with on exposure, and then dial your exposure down on that light until you get it where you want. Bring in your key light. Your key light needs to not hit the background or any other lights that you add. They just need to not hit the background. That's so important for this. It's really the main tip here. And then you're good to go. Fire away, shoot, do all kinds of fun stuff. You can change the color of the background to any color you want, any way you want, any saturation by using the same technique. So I will put Farah's information in the description so you guys can follow her. Be sure to follow me, Daniel Norton Photographer, subscribe to Adorama TV and ring the bell. And I'll see you next time on set.